Bonjour tout le monde, I'm Diane, this is We in France, and today we're talking about things that Americans do that French people definitely do not do. So let's get into it. All right, number one, we wash raw chicken before cooking it. Now, I know you've seen this one. Maybe you have that great aunt or uncle or even your parent, sibling, I don't know, just someone who insists on rinsing their raw chicken in their sink before they cook it. Now, in the US, a lot of people do this after taking it out of the packaging, but in France, not so much. That is a solid no. The French generally trust that their meat has been handled properly, and rinsing it is actually seen as a health risk because you can spread E. coli and other bacteria kind of all around your chicken, as the water splatters. Now, in recent years, I think the public health messaging in the US has become more mainstream in saying that it is not necessary to wash your chicken ahead of time. So maybe this chicken washing thing is kind of on the way out. It's more of an older generation thing or an old wives' tale. But I know there are definitely people in my family who have and still rinse their chicken before they cook it. But in any case, if you do this in France, in full view of French people, at a dinner party or whatever, people are in your kitchen seeing you do this, expect some raised eyebrows, maybe a very confused or concerned French person giving you unsolicited cooking advice. And you'll have to let me know below down in the comments if you're from the US or you've observed us. Let me know if you've observed any family members or if you yourself do rinse your chicken. I've definitely seen it in my family. I personally don't wash it because, I'm kind of lazy when it comes to stuff like that, but it's not good to spread that bacteria around, but let me know down in the comments if it's something you do or you used to do and why. All right, number two, we drive absolutely everywhere. Now, in the US, it is normal to hop in your car and to go literally anywhere. I've seen people drive to places just a couple of blocks away. An old coworker in New York City would take a taxi to a restaurant that was 3 blocks away when the weather was fine and she was wearing sneakers. It happens. But in France, I think it's more common to bike, to walk, to take public transport and that sort of thing. Now, why? Well, there are a bunch of reasons. One being that gas is expensive here. The less we use our car, the better it is for our wallet. Also, the infrastructure in France and also many other places in Europe support walking, support not using a car. So cities, even small towns, they're just more compact. They have walkable streets, they have reliable trains and buses, and local shops are nearby. You can walk. Everything is smaller. I have a supermarket about 5 minutes that way. I don't need to use my car to go. And I also don't do the big shop for 2 weeks, where I'm walking home with all these grocery bags, things falling all over the sidewalk. I do little shops frequently, just 2 bags, maybe 3 max. And it's just convenient because, like I said, the supermarket is right there. Now, in the US, things are way more spread out. And I know this can be regional too, whether you live in a small town, a big city, somewhere rural, but there often aren't sidewalks. It's not safe to walk somewhere, and also people don't have the time in the US to take 30 or 40 minutes just in the walking part, not even the time spent in the grocery store, And if we're busy, we have to take our kids somewhere, do something else, we take our car because it's quicker and we have a lot of things to do with a lot of ground to cover. Now, in France, you'll commonly see people working with their little grocery push cart, their baguette, tucked under their arm. It's no big deal. It's a great way to get some exercise. And overall, in my personal experience, you see people walking more in France than Americans. And of course, this doesn't mean that no Americans walk to do their errands ever, or that all French people always walk. No, I'm not saying that. Nothing is ever in absolutes. It's just overall, I feel you'll see fewer Americans walking everywhere than the French for the reasons that I just talked about. All right, number 3, drinks with a lot of ice. Ice. This one's near and dear to my heart. It's kind of an American obsession. We love it. We love our water, our soda, our juice, and even wine sometimes. Don't at me for that one. But yes, even wine sometimes with ice. I personally, here in France, I always have ice in my freezer. It's a taste thing for me. It's part of the drinking experience. I like feeling those cold ice cubes on my lips and my tongue. I don't know, it sounds weird, but it gives the drink texture. It's kind of hard to explain, but I know someone out there gets it. The ice makes the drink. And it's my preference to drink iced tea or whatever else needs to be cold with ice, not just chilled in temperature. And that goes double in the warmer months because as the drink warms up, if there's no ice in it, it starts off kind of cool from the fridge. Well, in 20 minutes, it's not good anymore. So to keep it cold, ice is a necessity. But what about in France? You might have experienced this as a tourist. When you're not being served drinks with a ton of ice, it's used less frequently. Soda out of the fridge, just chilled, is good enough for most French people. They don't typically fill a glass with ice first. And you might even need to ask your host or your waiter when you're out at a restaurant or at someone's house for ice, because a full glass of ice, like I said, is not the default. Maybe you'll get exactly 2 ice cubes in the glass and they'll melt like that. You know, it's just not how beverages are served or consumed here. But take note, it is not a faux pas or anything like that to ask for ice. So you can ask for ice for your Coca-Cola or whatever it is. Not your wine though. I was kind of kidding in my first point here. Unless it's a rosé piscine, which means like a rosé pool, basically, is what the cocktail's called. The rosé piscine, it comes with ice. It's rosé wine with ice, and that's something you'll see especially in the south of France. And also, I have to say, I think it was only this summer, like literally a month ago, that my local supermarkets here in the Loire Valley sold bags of ice. Before that, you could never really find bags of ice except in Picard. Woo, Picard, I love that place. It's France's frozen food store. They're about 2-kilo bags, so like barely 5 pounds. So a little bag, not ones that you need to like haul over your shoulder, you know, that are 20-pound bags in the US. Now in France, you will find bags of ice outside the summer months, more commonly in the south of France, but it's not super common, or at least it hasn't been in the past, especially not outside of coastal areas. All right, number 4, we use a lot of disposable everything. Now again, not everyone, not all the time, but in the US, convenience culture is alive and well. You'll see it everywhere. And that extends to things like paper towels, solo cups, disposable cutlery, paper napkins, you name it, we use it. And if you go to Target, Walmart, whatever, there is an entire aisle of all different brands with colors and sizes of paper plates and cups and all this stuff. And I actually know families who, for convenience reasons, use paper plates pretty much daily for meals. Now, in France, there's more of an emphasis on reusables, recycling, all of that, even in everyday life. Now, you're going to find more cloth napkins, reusable bags at the grocery store. You're not going to be given plastic bags as an option like it is in the US in some states. Again, that's not to say no French person ever uses disposable stuff or one-time paper products. They do, of course, and not every American uses disposable plates and utensils all the time. Again, I'm not saying that. Don't come for me. But on a larger scale, it is much more common in the US, I feel, for people to use disposable cutlery, napkins, etc. And it's not that Americans don't care about the environment. Don't get it twisted. It's just that we have a different day-to-day mindset. You'll see fewer Costco-sized packages. It's less about convenience and more glass jars, reusable soap containers, soap refills in France. And you know, I don't even think my local supermarket, I'm trying to think, I don't even think they sell more than 1 or 2 types of like paper plates or plastic forks. Yes, napkins, paper towels, but like all that disposable stuff, it's not really as prevalent here. Next, number 5, we smile at everyone all the time. My gosh, and it is so freaking tiring. If you're a woman, especially in the US, you've probably felt this. You know, outside big cities, smiling is default, and people will even say, if you just have like a straight on face, oh, smile, what, you aren't happy? You know, it's tiring. We even have that saying, service with a smile. You know, it's ingrained in us from a young age. You know, you smile to greet someone in a customer service role. You smile at strangers, store clerks, people walking by. It's part of being friendly, part of being palatable to others, regardless of how you might feel on the inside. But in France, smiling is seen a little differently. Smiling too much, especially at people you don't know, can come off as really fake, or at the very least strange. And I love that. I love that we don't have to plaster this smile on our face just for the sake of it. It's not that French people are unhappy or rude. They just reserve smiles for genuine moments. And a smile, it's not part of the social uniform in the same way as the US. So if you come to France and you find yourself by default smiling at people and you're not really getting one back in return, don't take it personally. It's just a cultural difference. And I talked about those a ton on the channel. So have a look down in the description. Check out some of those videos for more. All right, number 6, we take off our shoes at the door before going into someone's house. And okay, I need your help with this one down in the comments, because once I started thinking about this, I kind of changed my mind. I don't know. I'm gonna just go with it. So weigh in the comments. But in many American households, maybe more so in the past when I was a kid, taking off your shoes when you get to someone's house or walk into your own home is polite. It keeps the floors clean. You're not tracking dirt around the house. Now, my family personally did not practice this growing up, but it was something I would see regularly at friends' houses. Some of my Asian friends, actually. I wouldn't say this was like 50 in the US, but it's not exactly outside the realm of normal either. It's not rare. Now in France, it seems to be a toss-up as well. Some households ask you to remove your shoes, some don't. If you're a guest, they're not gonna force you to put on slippers, but maybe they personally take off their shoes. You could follow suit. I don't think it's a universal custom, so I think it's best to just kind of look for clues, maybe ask, follow your host's lead. And I really want to know, what has your experience been with this in France and other parts of the world? Do you take your shoes off? All right, number 7, saying for you're welcome. Now, let me explain what I'm talking about here. I want to start off with an example so we're clear on what I'm talking about before I get into the commentary. So in the US, and I know when I mentioned this before, some of you guys have said, I've never heard that. You don't know what you're talking about, or, oh, it's regional. But hold on, I'll get to that. In the US, if you hold the door open for someone at the mall, right, or you perform some kind of small, inconsequential task, the person will usually say thank you, and then you can reciprocate with either a you're welcome, no problem, no worries, or what we're talking about here, the or the It's a more casual way of saying you're welcome for something, usually really small. And if you've never heard of this before, definitely listen for it, because it's a thing. Even Siri on my iPhone will say for you're welcome when I thank her for answering a question for me, like, Siri, what's the weather? She'll say whatever, 40 degrees. After I say thanks, she'll say and it might sound rude to some people. I get that. It's definitely not as polite as saying my pleasure or something like that. But I promise you, there's no ill will intended. It's just a casual way to say you're welcome, and you will hear it. But in France, there's really no equivalent for that. You either say like de rien, or you could say avec plaisir, madame, or je vous en prie, something like that. If you do the as a default reply for thanks for holding a door open for someone, it won't translate, so it's just not going to be understood. So definitely use your words there. And there you have it, 7 things that Americans do that French people do not. And as I always say, these things are not a judgment of what country does things better or worse. It's not that, and I've kept things light here because there's no more need for negativity in this world. So these are just like light things. They're not too serious, and again, I always say it is only normal that countries do things differently. And it's not about who's right or wrong. They're just differences. And of course, we can have an opinion on what we personally prefer or what we feel is better or worse, but one country is not inherently above another. So I want to make that clear, especially since one of my goals here on We in France, if you're new, it's to help you feel more prepared when you experience France, when you interact with the French, and when you experience French life, either because you live here or you're a tourist. So that's my point of view. It's where I'm always coming from on this channel. So I'm happy to have you here. And maybe you noticed something new. I don't know. That plaque, that 100K subscriber plaque over my shoulders. Yeah, you can check out the video here on my channel about the 100K. I'll link it here down below. Thank you so much. Hitting that has been amazing. And I feel really proud of the work I put in here over the years, kind of seeing that over my shoulder when I'm talking to you. And also, I have an e-guide you could check out via the link below in the description, full of tips for your French vacation. Things like restaurant tips, culture, language, money, transport, all that good stuff. So check it out if you want to support the channel. This video is starting to get a little long, so I'm going to end it there with those 7 points, but I know there are loads more, so keep it light. I don't want anyone like throwing stones, getting crazy in the comments. Let me know in the comments what else you would add. With that, I'll leave it here. See you back on We in France soon. Salut!